the revolution starting inside. An instrumental part of Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Counter economics. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist.
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 Nexus. Agorist.
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 All right, welcome to the Agorist Nexus podcast. I am your host for the evening, Dag. We have a very, very special guest tonight. Before we get into that, though, quick shout out to our sponsors, Presearch, Decentralized search engine. No spying, no censorship. Really cool crypto program, but crypto just for using it. Really, really awesome. Definitely check them out. You can hit up our affiliate link. It is Agorist Nexus /search, if I'm not mistaken, but then let them know that we're sponsoring. So make sure you do that if you don't use them already. Without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our guest, Texas Joe. Texas Joe, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you are the host of the Insurgency Knitting Circle Podcast. You do a whole mess of other things that we will be getting into. But man, yeah, thank you so much for being here tonight. We are going to be talking about some homesteading and such this evening, among other things. But before we get into that, we have a few other topics that we want to talk about. Why don't we start by letting you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do about Insurgency Knitting Circle. We had you on the show once before with the intention of talking about homesteading, and ended up talking about executive security that you do, which was just an absolute blast. And we made it like halfway into the show before I even thought to mention that like you have a podcast and stuff. So why don't we go ahead and let you do some plugs and stuff like that up front?
All right then. So yeah, like my boy Dag said, I'm the host of the Insurgency Knitting Circle podcast. We've been doing that since about 2018. Started that show with 3 other guys, and everybody just kind of had their own projects, and everybody just kind of went their separate ways or whatever. No hard feelings, no hostile takeover, none of that. It's just everybody just got busy, and IKC was going to die unless I grabbed it by the horns and ran with it. So we're doing good now. The show is growing. It's got a lot of attention. I'm not going to say that it's got like a bunch of followers or anything like that, because we're still, by podcaster terms, we're still baby podcasters, but we have some attention. We have some eyes on us, and we're every post that we make, every episode that we record, lends itself to our reputation, and our us being who we are, and in the eyes of the people listening and the people following the show. So Insurgency Knitting Circle, it is I call it a variety show. The only thing we don't talk about is current events and politics, just because if you're talking about that stuff, as soon as you stop talking, people stop listening. It's like that boog fad or whatever, that boog wave. Every time you mention that stupid word, everybody, like, you'd have thousands of people pile on your show, and as soon as you did something else that wasn't talking about boog, it was like people were bailing out. So we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about current events, although you probably can guess our politics by the way we talk and the way we live and all that good stuff. So yeah, man, it's side hustle. It's, fellowship. It's, a community of people that are lifting each other up, inspiring each other, trading ideas. In my wheelhouse and what I talk about, self-sufficiency, self-reliance, preparedness skills, building a side business, starting a side hustle, starting a show, starting a podcast. I recently started taking on coaching clients, and so I'm coaching people, helping them build their shows and build their listenership and stuff like that. I've taken on some consulting clients, so I'm coaching people and consulting with people throughout the United States on their homesteads and planning and stuff like that. So we talk about doing stuff with your hands, building strong community. Man, we talk about everything from canning veggies to raising animals to fixing your own car to, and alternate investments, like alternate modes of investment, like cryptocurrency, gold and silver, stuff like that. So really what I want is to be part of the solution that gets the world that I see, or the world as I see it, and the things that I see wrong with our country and our society, trying to fix those. Like I'm not going to sell it as us being like a panacea of, the solution to everybody's problems, but I'm trying to do something to change what I see. And we have built an amazing community around this show. We have I say it a lot, but we have some of the widest and some of the deepest resources and knowledge and talent bases of, I'll put my show users up against any other show's users as far as talent and knowledge and everything go. So
yeah, it's almost like when it's such like a variety, it's almost more, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's almost more like a lifestyle kind of thing, as opposed to just like, like even like will we get into this, I'm saying like homesteading and stuff, but like, man, like the more you really get into it, it's not just, homesteading and having a garden. It really is the whole, like, security isn't just, having a garden, having some guns. It's the whole thing of like having skills to be able to, adapt, like you said, entrepreneurship, just things just to make you and your community stronger, in general, and that's, I really do like shows like that, because it's, you don't really know what you're going to get every day, when you tune in, like for yours, instance, just a recent episode you had a young lady on talking about bodybuilding and stuff, not what I was expecting that day, when I turned it on, but you still get a lot out of all that, because yeah, man, and the whole story with her is, it was just, what am I trying to say here? It was good. It was inspiring. It was good to listen to. It helped me be motivated and want to be a better person. So there's just, I like a lot of shows like that, because they do help keep me on my game. They help keep me sharp and wanting to be better.
Absolutely. So aside from the show, I am, as you mentioned, a homesteader. We got a little 10-acre spread here in Texas, and we have horses and chickens. We have goats. We have rabbits. We have bees. Let's see, what else am I leaving out? Goats, chickens, horses. We do raised bed gardening. We do aquaponics gardening. We are hoping to establish a relationship with Hive, so Grow Hive. They're a hydroponic manufacturer, so we'll be doing hydroponics here on the homestead here pretty quick. Also have Pat from Uncensored Tactical living here. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to ask if you'd ever done hydroponics before, if it was your first time. Sorry, I was hitting my vape and I coughed. Awful, but
yeah, no, you're good.
Have you
no, so this will be our first time.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I remember before I ever did, I was like, man, like, that chemicals and shit, I don't want to get into that. But then the first time I grew, like tomatoes hydroponically, I was like, oh my God, what have I been missing out on? Like, it's just amazing, like the speed and like, oh, it's so awesome. I'm really curious to hear about that. So it's gonna be like outdoors. Is that like the hive? Sorry, derailing a little bit, but is that like a drip system, or what kind of system is that? I'm not familiar with that one. Is it like a tower system?
So this is going to be it's like a kit, right? It's called the LF1, and we got a really good deal on it because they're actually presenting a block at the Virginia event for the homesteading and freedom and skill building workshop. So I'll be getting that in. We got one on site. We got it set up. It's running right now. So we'll be harvesting vegetables, hopefully harvesting vegetables and, like lettuce and stuff off that during the Virginia event coming up. But I'll be bringing mine home after that. So I'll pick mine at the event. So we've already got one on site, and then I'm going to be bringing one back to Texas, but it's going to be an indoor system.
Okay, very cool.
Did I lose
Okay,
you?
so I might have thrown you off there a little bit. You were listing your
No,
project.
you're good. You're good. Let's see. I went through the animals: horses, goats, chickens, bees, rabbits. We have Uncensored Tickle and Canine Training Academy here on the same home. So we also have 3 large dogs in the house. We have a shepherd and we have 2 silver labs. So we do dog training. We in the aquaponics, we farm fish. So we have a variety of koi in the aquaponics tanks, and then we have fish that we have netted out of the pond that are reproducing and making more fish. So that's really cool. And yeah, man, that's we have people here. We had an event in April, and we had 40, 50 people come and attend from all over the United States to learn how we do what we do here on the farm. So rub elbows with us, break bread with us, and sip whiskey with us around the fire pit. And it was a fantastic time, man. So that was the culmination of probably yeah. So that's
awesome.
That's not staff. That was attendees and presenters.
So were they all like regular
all up,
listeners of like your show, or did they come from like other, like, did you source them out from other places as well? Or I mean, that's a pretty good turnout. People actually come out, man. That's awesome.
So most of the people were either listeners of the show, or they were affiliated. Like we had Pat from Uncensored Tactical coming, and he was training with Fortress Canine. So he reached out to Fortress Canine and said, "Hey, do you want to come attend this event?" And of course, Fortress Canine said yes, and it was a huge hit. Everybody that was here for the April event got to see me get attacked by 2 of Fortress Canine's top dogs, and that was intense, bro. Like
I love that was man, but that's a bit much.
that was an adrenaline rush, the likes of which I've never experienced before. So I'm definitely down to take that ride again. But man, when those dogs come at you, it's like there's a dog standing about 50 feet away, and then all of a sudden there's a dog in your face. So but yeah, awesome. Man, so not only do we talk about it, we don't just talk the talk on the show and on Instagram. We walk the walk. We teach the skills. We answer the questions. I mean, my Discord is a closed Discord. It's for subscribers only, and those subscribers can text me at 2:00 in the afternoon or 2:00 in the morning. And whatever it is, man, if I can help, I drop what I'm doing to help them out.
Hell yeah, providing value.
Absolutely.
So you have another event coming up. This one's going to be in Virginia. When is that one scheduled, and are there still tickets or seats or spots or whatever you call it available?
Yep. So it's Freedom and Farmsteading. That's what the event is called. I keep calling it the event. It's called Freedom and Farmsteading. The first one was called Freedom and Farmsteading 2021. And this is just going to be 2021.2. We had, like I said, Fortress Canine attended. They liked it so much they invited us to come to the proving grounds in Oviedo, Florida, January of 2022. And one of our students enjoyed it so much that he said, "I have a gym. We'll sponsor the event. You will host the event, and come bring this to Virginia so the people that couldn't attend can attend in the Mid-Atlantic region." So I said, "All right, man, cool. Let's do it." So we're doing that. We're going to Virginia October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We'll actually be there a couple days early and mosey on back down through the Blue Ridge Mountains and see the foliage starting to change colors down the Atlantic coast on our way back. And yeah, dude, so it's going to be 3 days. We are going to talk, we're being hosted by a CrossFit gym. So we're going to talk, real talk, real bones from somebody who owns a gym and is in the gym every single day. How significant a diet is, how significant it, what you're doing workout wise is. Do you do a lot of weight, short reps, small sets, or do you do, so we're going to talk about health and wellness and fitness. We're going to talk about trapping and snaring. We're going to talk about hydroponics. We're going to talk about preserving food. So we're actually going to have one, two, three, four to five different food preservation methods, like for long-term storage that we're going to be demoing. Let's see, we're going to be talking canine lifestyle, so owning a protection dog, and we're going to be demoing some of the work that the dogs are doing here on the farm. We're going to be talking homestead tools and homestead skills, like felling trees and doing fencing and just labor saving devices. One of the biggest shows that I did, that got the most views, was labor saving devices on a homestead. And so we have an addendum to that show. Just haven't recorded it yet, but we're going to be taking a bunch of tools to Virginia to let people play with and stuff like that. And it's going to be great, man. It's going to be 3 days of food, fellowship, freedom, and just, learning from one another. And then we're going to cap it all off. Hive Technologies is going to, they're going to give us a presentation and a factory tour at the end. So Sunday afternoon, we're taking a factory tour through the hive manufacturing facility. So we get to see thousands and thousands of square feet of operational hydroponic growing, like industrial, setups. So, dude, it's going to be awesome.
I'm a big nerd for like that show How It's Made. Like I love getting to go to like just see how shit's done. In my current job I get to go like just see a lot of industry, and like I just love it, man. It's so cool getting to see just how shit's made.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So man, that's great. I would love to attend the snaring and trapping one. I've been actually having to learn a little bit of that on my own here recently with some coyote problems we've been having. But I want to learn how to trap bunnies, because we have so many wild bunnies here. I don't want to bother raising them. I just want to trap them so I can eat them.
So that's actually not that hard. Appalachian Agorist on Instagram is going to be teaching our block on trapping. And then I'm going to piggyback on his block, and I'm actually going to talk from a search and rescue, and from like a canine handler, and a like a search and rescue, like a ground pounder, and a mountain biker. I'm going to talk about hazards. So there comes a time during search and rescue, and when you're running dogs and you're you're covering undeveloped and quote unquote wild terrain, you're going to come across places and things that people have out there in undeveloped territory because they don't want people to find it, like grow fields and meth houses and stuff like that. And some of the things that you're going to run across that any hiker or any backpacker, like if you see a roll of baling wire on the on the side of the path, you're gonna be like, whoa, cordage, man. Like there's so much I can do. I'm gonna grab that bale of wire. Well, what if it's attached to an IED?
Right.
So there's that, fish hooks at eye level for human beings and dogs and stuff like that. So we're not only going to talk trapping and stuff like that, we're going to talk environmental hazards and some of the stuff to watch out for, because the reality is that sooner or later you're going to cross into somebody's territory, or somewhere that somebody thinks is their territory, and they're not going to want you there. So that can be on the AT hiking, that can be down in the in the Florida, in the sticks here in Texas, that can be anywhere. So recognizing, instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to pick up that piece of trash and be environmentally conscious, well, that's not always a good idea. So but we're going to talk a lot of stuff, man. We are so I guess let me get out of my own way here. We got about 6-8 seats left for this thing that we're willing to take, because we're getting to our limit with staff and students, but we do have a handful of seats left. The seats are $600 a piece, and that covers your food, drinks. We got a nice air-conditioned 2-stall bathroom trailer, so ladies got their own air-conditioned bathroom, guys got their own bathroom. Your parking's included in that. All your freebies that are gonna, swag's gonna be included. Let's see, parking, camping, food, all of your drinks. People always bring like whiskey and cigars and, other adult stuff to, trade amongst themselves and, share between each other and stuff like that. So we're gonna do that, but it's dog friendly. are it's pet friendly. It's going to be family friendly. It's we want people to come and attend this thing and become a part of this community and start taking the principles they learn to build more freedom, build more resiliency in their lives, and then hopefully they become seed crystals in their community and start building stronger communities.
Yes. That's great, man. I love this kind of stuff because it's actually making real differences in people's lives, and of course that's the greater good. It's better for everybody when a few of us are just more prepared and kind of like batteries of resources, when things get crazy. Man, that's great. I wish I could attend the Virginia one. I won't be able to, but I am definitely looking forward to the Florida one, which I believe is going to be in January. We will definitely talk about that again when we get a little closer to that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
You've already made a commitment to me on that.
Yes, I definitely want to be a presenter there. So that's very exciting to be able to do something and help spread a little bit of let other people learn from my mistakes. Spread a little bit of the shit that I've learned and everything. So that should be pretty cool. So yeah, if anybody wants to come hang out with us in Florida, be sure to hit me up or hit Texas Joe up, and we will make that happen. But again, we'll talk about that when we get a little closer to that. We'll get through the Virginia one.
Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, Devault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the Devault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a Devault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show.
So, man, so that's great. Let's okay. So before we start talking about your farm, you had another announcement. Do we want to talk about that?
Oh man, it's up to you.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, man. Let's get that out of the way. Oh, that makes it sound bad. Let's just so we can focus on homesteading. Let's go ahead and talk about that one.
All right. So I haven't even really made this announcement on my own show. My paid Discord or my paid subscribe star people know about it and stuff like that, but I haven't really made this announcement. So while we're on the topic of homesteading, I have actually finished 2 homesteading kids or homesteading for kids. It's children's based books that are, they have the projects that we've completed for our homestead here in Texas as the focal point. My kids are actually the main characters of the books, and our family, from our own experience, we have just written these stories based on our experience of doing the various projects around the homestead. And they make your house stronger, they make your family stronger, they make your community stronger. I work in principles on homesteading and homesteading tips. I work in principles of freedom and preparedness and self-ownership and personal liberty. And I also homeschool, so my kids, some of the dialogue in the book is about them, stuff they've learned in homeschool and stuff like that. So it's books about my kids and my kids' experiences growing up on homestead, and it's written for other kids and families to read together. And at the end of every book, with the salutation saying thank you for reading the book, we're actually including plans for every one of the projects that we as our family complete in the books. You'll be getting plans and cut lists and build lists for each of the projects that we knock out in the books. So
that's awesome.
I'm trying, like, I'm
do them.
I'm on the edge of like being emotional here because it's been a long time, and I've put my heart and soul into these books, man, and I hope that it makes a difference. I saw what Connor Boyack did with the Tuttle twins, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to take them out of the market. I'm just trying to do the same thing and provide value to, families that don't know how to go about this, man. Because it's one thing to watch it on YouTube. It's something completely different to have the plans in your hand,
Yeah, for sure. And like you were saying about the Tuttle twins, like, yeah, no, we need more of this, like for children, especially we have the, what is it, 13,000 hours of government indoctrination camps to compete with.
Mhm.
So anything like this is definitely a plus. So are these like, is this like obviously it's based on things that you guys done. Is it like fiction, quote unquote, or is it like instructional, the nature of these books?
No, so this is fiction.
Okay,
It's,
the stories
like I
and
said,
whatnot centered around. Okay,
right. So it's loosely, based on our experiences doing these projects. And then, like we have the characters going out and interacting with other members of their community and, getting input and, just completing tasks and meeting people and building strong community. That's something that's major on IKC and something that, is a big deal in our lives. So we work in all those different principles and we work in, all those different, aspects and stuff like that without being preachy or, like trying to use a kid's book as a pulpit or, any of that stuff. So, but yeah, so the first 2 books in the series, and I don't know how many books are going to be in the series. I've got this magic number of 12 in my head, but I don't know. It may be more than that. The first 2 of the series, Homestead Kids, has gone to the editor, and so once we get it back from editing, we're going to go through formatting, and we're going to go through illustration. I'm talking to an illustrator right now, so Compassion Canvas, we're talking to them right now. We're talking to her about being our illustrator, and it may work out, may not, but these books are coming out come hell or high water. It has to be done. It's a labor of love, and it's this is my line in the sand, man. Like I'm not running from here. I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna leave a legacy, and dude, I don't care if I change. I don't have to change the world, man. As long as I change the world for a handful of families and they live a better life, then it's worth it.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's the best you can do, and I mean, it's like, that's one of the reasons I'm an agorist. You know what I mean? Because you're going to make way more of a difference bringing freedom to people, even if it's just a couple people in your life, than you ever could by casting a vote. You know what I mean? It's
right.
It's just the way to go. We're out here grinding it out, making shit happen, and I fucking love it. And I also got to say, I love how you get like emotional about stuff like I do too. It makes me feel a little better about myself.
Well, I mean, it's like
from time to time, man, and I totally get it. So I love that.
Hell yeah. Like I'm not going to stand out on the street corner and with a bullhorn and force feed you liberty and awareness and, stuff like that, like personal freedom and self-ownership. Like I'm not going to force feed you that shit. If you want to stay in, like you want to stay blind, you want to stay asleep, and you want to stay controlled, good on you. You go do that.
Yeah.
Me and my family, not so much.
Well, I mean, that's to believe in freedom. I mean, you got to leave people the freedom to, if they want somebody to rule them, sure, just leave me alone.
Dude,
that's all I want.
We try and make as much of our, our everyday actions voluntary as we possibly can. There's times in everybody's life where they got no choice but to go along. Like you gotta, do all this stuff. Like you gotta carry insurance. You gotta, have your car inspected. You gotta, like do all this stupid stuff. Like you have to, and like you have to be involved with the state. But where we can opt out, we opt out. We opt out, and we find a source locally or through somebody we know, even if it takes 2 or 3 iterations, or it takes twice as long, or it costs twice as much. I put my money where the value is. I could shop around. Take car insurance, for example. I could shop around for car insurance, and I get a way better rate. But how many of y'all out there can call your agent, and make a policy change at 3:30 in the morning? Call her on her cell phone and make a change to your policy at 3:30 in the morning. And she always takes my call. So I could probably get insurance for 1/3 of the cost, but I keep my money where my value lies. where, people that think like me and live like me and, believe the things that I believe in, that's who gets my money. So
yeah, it's nice to be able to make decisions, in that regard too. It's with everything being so like corporatized and everything, everything's a fucking chain, and it's so hard to,
Yep.
spend your money somewhere where it's like I want to spend it, but I do the best I can. If I see someone selling barbecue on the side of the road, I'm gonna try and pull over there for lunch instead of, going to Mickey D's or something. Besides any other reasons you shouldn't eat at Mickey D's, but just an example.
Oh,
So
bro, I still shop on Amazon. I still go to
Yes.
Walmart. Like I'm just saying, it's
well,
you-
I mean,
you
because
take-
sometimes it's within where the hell else do you buy an SD card other than Walmart or Amazon? If I needed to go buy an SD card, where else would I do it? I don't even know.
and Best
Some other
Buy,
chain.
Target.
Yeah, that's it. So it's like, yeah, man. I mean, you can only do, so much. But then there's sometimes like, okay, it's like I do get a little like, it's a little tough sometimes. Like, okay, so I run an e-commerce site, and I have friends who do that, and they sell on like Amazon and stuff, and they do very well selling on Amazon. And they're like, man, get your stuff on Amazon, get your stuff on Amazon. And I'm like, oh, like I probably should, but then then everything's more KYC banking. You know what I mean? I do a lot of cryptocurrency sales and stuff, and it's like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's like, where's the line between being principled and, being smart? Like, part of me just wants to be like, fuck it, I'll take money from wherever. If I want to do business with Amazon, but then there's part of me, it's like, oh, if I can avoid doing business with Amazon and whatever. So I don't know, man. I guess it just depends on, person to person and what your situation is, too, with stuff like that. But it's, I guess the point I'm getting at is, yeah, there's always a little bit that you got to deal with in the system while it exists, and opt out where you can or where it makes the most sense, I suppose.
Well, I mean, dude, freedom and self-ownership is inconvenient. That's why everybody is like, here, take my freedom, take my, take my freedom of movement, take all this stuff and keep me safe.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Like, you're in control of yourself.
Mhm.
You're responsible for providing for yourself, keeping yourself safe and all that stuff. When you trade your freedom and your privacy for security, you don't get any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I had a friend recently I was talking to, and he's like, "Oh yeah, me and my family, we're all getting the vaccine and blah blah blah." And he's like, it just makes sense because before long you're not gonna be able to do anything without it. So it just is what it is. And it's like my exact thing. Like I'm sort of passive aggressive. I was like, yeah, man, it's pretty hard to have principles, But same
it's
kind of thing.
inconvenient when when those principles come in direct conflict with your like your livelihood, or when your principles come in, when they come into conflict with your free childcare that people call public school, because we've had that happen. That's why we're homeschoolers now, and it's a pain in the butt. I come home from a day's worth of work, and kids are here with Uncle Pat, and they're doing their work, and they're like, hey, I'm stuck on algebra 2, and I'm like, you missed me with that, because
I never made it algebra 2.
Right, like I can do rabbit math and I can do chicken math, like I can run an $80,000 computer and a $50,000 piece of software and make $1 million oil refineries. Like I can do that, like I can whatever, but you missed me with that algebra 2. So there's, like I said, there's convenience, and when you trade your choice, your self-ownership, your security, when you trade all of that for convenience, it's a trap, man. It's a trap.
So raising some of your own food and everything, that can tend to be horribly inconvenient compared to just going down and buying really cheap stuff at the grocery store. As far as you guys with all your critters and veggies and stuff, you guys do things just for the family, or do you do any sort of like market sales or anything like that?
So we typically don't sell much. Like we'll sell the hell out of eggs because our girls do really well in the system that we have. But normally, man, it's like we produce what we can to cut off or cut out of, or to augment what we buy and what we have saved, It would surprise Americans to know how much time and effort it takes to produce even a quarter of the food you consume and
Oh,
how
yeah,
much
you ain't
space
kidding.
that requires.
Mhm. Well,
You could intensively manage to do a quarter acre and you could produce a lot of your own food, but you ain't gonna be doing much else. Like, unless you automate everything and you just have the best luck, right? Because like my raised bed gardens and even my aquaponics, like if my my wife, my aka my catalyst for change mows, I've got weeds everywhere. So like these people that got these sexy raised bed gardens and these aquaponic systems ain't got no weeds and all this stuff, like good for y'all. That ain't me.
they're just
You
cleaning
know,
up for the photo.
yeah, I look at it and then 2 days later it's like 4 feet tall overgrown with weeds. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
come on, man. You know, like it's terribly inconvenient, but you know, when you get to teach your kids that they don't have to, you know, like they're only, you know, and it's not even kids, man. We have adults come over here and it's that light bulb moment, man, when you see the light go on in their eyes and they're like, I don't have any other option besides going to the store. You know, like when you see that light bulb go on and they realize, hey, I can take some of this into my own hand and be responsible. You know, like I can take some self-ownership in what's going into my body. You know, that's priceless, man. Like I had 4 dudes show up at Virginia. Or, I'm sorry, not Virginia. I had 4 dudes show up here in April for the first farmsteading event. And well, I had more than that, but you know, I taught my rabbit presentation, and then I pulled out a custom knife, which, you know, that's another cool thing we'll talk about later. Whatever. MT Knives makes a custom knife for every IKC event. So I pull out the custom knife, and I'm all right. Who wants to actually see me butcher a rabbit? Well, every hand went up, and I'm like, okay, who wants to actually butcher a rabbit? Half the hands went down. And I said, okay, of you half the hands that are still up, who has not ever butchered a rabbit? And 4 or 5 hands stayed up. So those people got to dispatch, clean, and butcher a rabbit, and that rabbit went into a Shiner Bock braised rabbit stew with garden vegetables, like root vegetables, like potatoes and onions and carrots and stuff like that. And we actually had that for dinner one night. So, but to have that,
Yeah.
you change the synapse, you change the path, you rework the lines that have been drawn by public school and a lifetime of consumption and a lifetime of, you know, just in time inventory, and you start changing those pathways in the brain and you see the light come on and people are like, oh, hold on a second, I don't have to depend on somebody else to provide my food. I won't starve as long as I can find this resource and do this for myself. So it you know, it comes back to the Bible, right? Like, you can give a man a fish, or you can teach him to fish and he can feed himself. And that's what we're all about. I like teaching people to fish.
Absolutely. You know, one of the points that you made there that I love is that, yeah, people don't realize how much work, you know, goes into so much of that stuff, you know. But once you realize how much better it is and you start eating it or doing it for yourself, like I get to where something it's like $10 a pound for beef isn't like out of the question for me if it's grass fed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to pay the whatever regular grocery store crap beef goes for these days. I don't even know. It's I don't want to eat that, you know. Like I'm gonna eat grass fed beef, you know. And that's really one of the things, like for us at our farm, is like the meat, you know. Like we want good meat. I just can't go back to grocery store meat. So we even like trades. Like we raise chicken, you know, we don't have enough space for cows, but we trade with somebody local who does grass fed beef. You know, we trade them chicken and turkey for beef, you know, and it works out great. And I just it does. I mean, it changes the whole worldview, you know, just how everything works and what it takes to survive. You know, when a little over a year ago, when the coup started going down, like we got a lot more business because people were going to the grocery store and shit wasn't there, you know, and they're like,
Or
oh man,
they had purchase restrictions. You could only buy 3 meat products, and that included hot dogs, that included lunch meat, and that included bacon. And once you got those 3, that's like all you could get.
Yeah.
So
we had a lot of people.
yeah, we have
make friends with the farmer, dude, because when shit like that happens, you know, you want the dude with 1,000 pounds of meat in his freezer.
Well, we lucked out, man. We it was right as I want to say it was right as COVID kicked off or whatever. Like we were no, it was before COVID. We were just eating dinner one night, and there was a storm roll in, and our neighbors next door raised cattle. They got some of the best looking Sembra beef you can put your eyes on, man. Like they came over and actually did a presentation for us at the April event, and
Oh, cool.
I can burst your bubble on grass fed beef. Like that's a sham. So unless you know where it's coming from, like we'll get into that in a different episode. But
Well, no,
They had-
hold on, hold on. Are you saying that grass-fed beef is like, or are you just saying that like when you buy it in the store, it might not actually be grass-fed beef? Or are you saying that you just don't care about that, you don't like grass-fed beef?
no, I love grass fed beef because I try and eat that. But
Okay.
that stuff you buy at the store that's labeled as grass fed beef, it can be raised.
It might not be
Nose-
grass finished, right? Isn't that the
No.
key?
So to get that label, to
Mm-hmm.
get that designation as grass fed, it only has to be on grass for the last month, 2 months of its life. So
Ah,
it can
gotcha.
have been raised in a feedlot, nose to asshole with other cows.
Mhm.
You know, all of the everything they do to keep those cows healthy in that environment, and they can be bought at auction way underweight. You know, stick them out on a pasture, real nut lush, thick, green, just picturesque pasture. Let them cows sit out there and eat that pasture for the last last 2 months of their life, 30 to 60 days. Then that's still considered grass-fed beef. That's the
Gotcha.
shit you buy at
Okay,
the
yeah.
grocery store.
Yeah. Okay. Totally on board. Yeah, man. And yeah, you're right. We could do a whole episode. But I'm very familiar with poultry labeling, especially, and all the how it's just all a scam. Like the free range and what that means and this and that. Yeah, it is. So, like you said, yeah, the best thing is to know the farmer, go somewhere where you can go fucking visit. And that's.
Oh, dude, I went on a rant
that's
on
our thing, yeah.
Instagram. I went on a rant a couple of days ago on Instagram about the USDA grading for eggs.
Uh-huh.
That dude. Oh. Know your farmer, folks. Buy local.
Yeah. Definitely the way. Go somewhere you can go visit. That's my thing. Like, dude, like I'm totally open door, man. If you're a customer of mine or a potential customer, come on over. You can see how we process. You can see how I raise stuff. And a lot of times people, they expect things to be much more how should I say like perfect. Like, it's like I had a lady call me and she was opening a restaurant, and I told her how we do our chickens, and they're raised outside on grass, on pasture, but we have to supplement with commercial feed. And she's like, oh, well, I want something that's chickens that are just pasture, just fed like pasture stuff. I'm like, well, you're not going to find that. Like, it doesn't,
Yeah. You ever seen chickens that are just pasture?
Yeah. Do you want to eat? You want chickens you have to cook for 4 hours for your customers? No. You want a broiler chicken, and that, the amount they eat. And she got it. Some people get it, some people don't. Once I explained it to her and she, understood. But, and I mean, I got to admit, dude, like when I started doing this, I'm like, I'm only going to water my veggies with virgin rainwater and, this and that. Never use any sort of, pest control device, and this and that. And then, you get a little bit of, you get a little into it and you're like, okay, well, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it work. And it was the same thing with doing like the chickens. We started doing just heritage breed chickens, and for us it was fine, but you end up with 3-pound birds that take 6 months to raise, and you have to slow cook them to eat them. And then it's like you start doing the broilers, and it's like, okay, well, this is a good middle ground. I can cook it like a regular chicken, but it has much better texture than grocery store meat, even though it's the same kind of bird. But yeah, man. So I don't know how we got on that, but yeah, know your farmers, guys, for real. That's the way to do it. If you can go to the farm and you can visit it, then that's excellent. Or yeah, just some way to have some sort of line on where it's coming from. Because yeah, if you get it from the grocery store, and I do admit when we can't get our local grass-fed beef from our friends, we'll buy ground beef from the grocery store and it's grass-fed. And I know it's not ideal, but it's better than the regular shit, hopefully. But yeah, that really is the only way to know for sure. So as far as doing, like, let's say, one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about particularly was bunnies. And one of the reasons that I like the idea of doing bunnies for meat is because I'm to understand that if you have, like, next to like quail, like if like as far as like space it takes up, like you can live in like a suburban kind of area on like a quarter acre or less and have like a battery of like rabbit cages or like quail or something, and actually have a relatively sustainable like meat source for yourself. Do you have any input on that for bunnies, or what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's totally doable. It's totally doable. And there's guys, shout out to Nick Klein at Hostile Hair. Nick actually did a talk several years ago for this thing called the Survival Summit. And I listened to that interview probably 150,000 times. And I always said that we wanted rabbits. We got rabbits. We've proven the method. I've actually got somebody courting me to buy me out of my rabbit business right now that lives in Oklahoma. So, it will it produce? Bro, there's not much that multiplies faster than rabbit math.
That is the joke.
So, if it really, so for us, like we've had the rabbits for 2 years, and we still got 15 out there. We could take our operation from 15 rabbits to over 100 rabbits in a matter of a couple of months.
Oh wow.
So will it produce? Absolutely it will. Will it, is it something that can be done in like a neighborhood or, somewhere where you're not allowed to, necessarily allowed to raise your food? Absolutely. For us, we're honestly considering getting out of the rabbit game. And the only reason that we're considering getting out of the rabbit game is because they are the most finicky animal system we have on the farm.
I've heard they can be little, like one of the reasons that I've been hesitant is because I'm so far south and I've heard they don't do well in heat. But I don't know.
And so they can go sterile, right? And extreme cold or extreme heat, they will go sterile, and it comes back once the temperature moderates. But
okay.
They can get to where they won't take, or even if they do breed, it doesn't stick. Heat for them is, dude, you have to manage their heat. They do better with colder temperatures, but you have to, dude, ice bottles, moving air, man, you want to keep them cool. We actually had one of my clients come that has bought rabbits from us before, came the other day to pick up rabbits, and we're like, man, we butchered a bunch of bucks we didn't need at the April event. We've sold off does, and we're just down to our core production rabbits and a couple of young does that haven't been proven yet. And so, that's not what they were looking for. And as we went to walk through the rabbitry, I immediately, when I walked up to it, I smelled it, and I'm like, there's something dead. And, I went back to my kids. I'm like, when's the last time and they're like, we checked on them this morning, and dude, it happens. I mean, you have to understand, dude, we're in Texas. It's 80 to 100 degrees every day. And even when the sun goes down, it's still in the 80s at night. That just, the goats that are weak, they die. The chickens that are weak, they die. The rabbits that are weak, they die. And it's part of it. And that's one of the things that we talk about in homesteading is, everybody sees the lovey-dovey, romantic, really sexy stuff on Instagram. But, like me and Nick Klein at Hostile Hair, we're talking via email. And it's like, what's homesteading like? Homesteading's like, babe, put your boots on and hold this flashlight for me. It's 3:00 in the morning. We got an animal dying.
Mm-hmm.
Or you come out the next morning and you've got a horse you've been raising for 2 years. You haven't even got to ride yet, and it's dead from colic. Or Hurricane Harvey, we had a fence fall. We were talking about the grass-fed beef earlier. We had went out to dinner and we had a storm roll in, and our neighbors next door, it's how we ended up with all the meat we have in our freezer right now. They had 3 of their best cows get hit by lightning while they were standing underneath the tree. So homesteading's great. Story.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Homesteading's great, man. It's an awesome way to live, but it will take every drop of the blood, sweat, and the tears that you have. It'll take every ounce of effort. It'll take everything you have and demand that you give more. And there's days where you would trade it all because of failure, and failure is part of it.
Yeah, man. You know it going into it, right? Like, especially when you get into animals, like,
some people
that one
don't.
day you're gonna have. I mean, I'd hope they know, like, that you're gonna have to dispatch an animal at some point. You're gonna have to put something down that you love, and it's.
Bro, you know how many people call me and they're like, "Hey, I got goats. And I'm like, okay, why are you giving away your goats? So like, because I had one die and I'm not going to deal with any more death. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what were you thinking was going to happen? Like all these roads, okay? Like, I don't know if you noticed or not, right? But life in general for everything, mammal, amphibian, you know, whatever, humans, life is a sexually transmitted disease and it's 100% fatal for everything that breathes air.
Yep.
So what were you thinking when you got into this? Like, you know, and of course people are like, well, it's something I did. It's not anything necessarily that you did. Don't blame yourself. You know, it's like, you know, here in Texas, we have a harsh environment. Some animals are weak and they just can't stand it. They can't handle it. And that's nature thinning out the herd.
You
So-
know, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, you know, like so like getting used to stuff, you know, like dying, like it's gonna happen, you know, and you know, you have to, you know, you have to deal with it. And you know, when you said like, oh, like, you know, it's not necessarily anything you did wrong, and that's usually the case, but it is tough because like when I'll have, okay, good example, we had a real bad coyote problem this summer a couple months back, and it took a lot of our birds. It took a lot of birds that I've had for a long time that had names that weren't going to be on anybody's plate. You know what I mean? And you know, I mean, I'm setting traps. I have cameras. I spent the night out there, you know, several times, and you just can't, like, you know, late night patrols and this and that, and it gets so frustrating, and I feel so bad. You know, I'm like, I'm responsible for these animals, and not just in their sense, like this is like my livelihood too, you know what I mean? So it does get very, like, you know, it can get very stressful and very emotional, and you know, I can get people not wanting to do it, you know. I definitely can. There's, you know, a lot of people, you know, they go who don't do this kind of thing, like, oh, it's easy and it's fun, like you said, the cute pictures on Instagram. And one of the running jokes around our house is the meme you've probably seen floating around, where it's like, if we all just grew one thing and then traded amongst ourselves, we could all eat for practically free. And it's like, okay, like, so who grows the carrots versus the tomatoes? It's way different amounts of work, and then obviously it's a lot of work, and you're growing 100 people's worth, you know. There's all sorts of, you know, things. Then of course the other joke is like, oh yeah, they discovered capitalism, you know. But like, but that's sort of the running joke, because it's like, yeah, man, this shit's a lot harder than people who don't do it realize. And I'm not saying it's not totally rewarding, I'm not saying it's not totally worth it, you know. I definitely think it is for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, man, it's there are definitely some harsh realities, for sure. And you know, even if you go into it knowing that you're going to have to deal with it, man, when you actually have to, you know, like the first time we processed chickens, you know, the first few times we processed chickens it was emotionally taxing, you know. It was very stressful, you know. Like I don't typically smoke like cigarettes, but like on processing days I smoke cigarettes, you know. Like you know, like it gets my nerves a little bit, you know. Like I don't like killing things, but I'm not going to stop eating meat, so I'm going to raise our own, because the grocery store food is just so cruel that I can't deal with that. So but yeah, man, there's definitely some getting used to, you know, in all that stuff, for sure. But the more that a great thing about like the things that you're doing, like with these trainings, is helping get people the confidence to do it themselves, you know. And again, like podcasts and stuff too, like helping people, give them the confidence to do it. When you can have a support group where people have questions, and it's just like, you know, like in the discords and stuff, like I say, like on our Keybase and stuff on here, it's like, if anybody has any homesteading stuff, hit me up, you know what I mean, and let's see what we can do to figure it out. And I will do the best I can, because you know, I just want to help. Hey, here's some mistakes. I'm not like a big guru, you know, I don't have all the answers, but I can at least tell you, here's mistakes I've made, you know, and let's help you learn from them.
That's one of the biggest things I learned from our presenter, Fortress K9, at the event. Dude, bro, nobody's a guru. And even the gurus, they suck too. Everybody sucks, bro. And everybody has bad days, you know. You know, people don't see, like, it took 27,000 takes to get that picture for Instagram, you know. Like, and I even posted I posted something about my dogs, man, on Instagram the other day, and I'm like, to hell with looking cool on Instagram. This is real. Like, I had somebody ask me, they're like, oh, you got a farmstead, huh? Are you got a farm? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you and your wife kick it in the hay? And I'm like, no, the last time me and my wife spent any time sitting on our ass in the hay, we were bottle nursing an animal, praying to God it didn't die.
Right.
You know? I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, I don't know what people think when you say homestead and you say farmstead, and that's another bit of
Yeah.
fuckery right there. Like, the homesteaders are like, you can't call yourself a homestead, you're too big. And I'm like, whatever, go do something.
I like the term farmstead, especially because I do a little bit of commercial, but like, I don't care. Call yourself whatever you want, you know?
Yeah.
The compound sounds cool too. So
well, we got to be easy with that, because
yeah, I know.
we
I
had
know.
some members that came. we had some members that came to the Virginia event, and like their wife and their mom are like calling and checking in. They're like, are you going to Texas to join a cult? So that's where like the whole not a cult thing came. We even got the URL not a cult.run. it's ridiculous, man. So how's dude, it was worth it, man. Like, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, how's Pat adjusting to life on the farm? Because that's not typically his bag, right?
Who
is he enjoying it, or
he's doing a good job? He's doing a good job, man. He's doing a good job. It is unlike anything he's ever, it's not a lifestyle he's ever lived, so there's like, he's like, let me try this. I'm like, okay, this is all right, so here's what I need, these are the results I expect. And he's like, okay, cool, and he struggles, and he's like, let me do this on my own. I'm like, okay, cool, but do it. And then he's like, okay, I can't get this done, I can't make this work, how do I do this? And I show him, and he's like, oh, like this. I'm like, yep. He's like, all right, cool, and never ask for help again.
I'm sure he's a very capable human.
Oh, absolutely. He is a very capable human, and like I said, he's taking care of things here on the farm. The biggest part of him being here is so that he has a place that he can build Uncensored Tactical, write his books, and build Canine Trading Academy, Texas. And that was the big reason for him being here. Secondarily, he is helping us with the farm, and he's here to help the kids with their homeschool and, just make sure things are safe around here. So, wife and I don't have to worry about going back to work full time, right? We started homeschooling when we were working remotely. Everybody thought that remote work was going to keep going forever, indefinitely. Well, that didn't happen. So, we've got an adult here with the kids. We know everybody's safe. It's, dude, you try doing some sketchy shit on this farm. I feel sorry for you, bro. Because
yeah, that'd be the one place to not fuck with.
Like, yeah, you're gonna have Pat and two kids come out, and everybody's gonna be strapped.
Hell yeah.
So, but yeah, dude, he's doing great. I like, my wife and I get up in the morning, we leave a list of tasks that have to be completed, and by the time we get home, there's food on the stove, or there's food ready to go. We walk in, do our thing, take care of what we need to. If anybody gets stuck on any particular thing, or something like that, they're like, hey, like, so we had an issue with the watering system for the chickens the other day. And so Pat and I just, we got in it. I showed him what I was doing. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, he's enthusiastic about learning. He's doing a great job. And man, I have no complaints. It's and dude, the change that I've seen in my two silver labs, my girls, dude, it's night and day difference.
Professional dog
Like,
trainer.
I can't. Yeah. And security expert.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing some CQC stuff. Him and I are both firearm trainers, so we're gonna start putting together. Y'all keep your eyes out. So we're gonna start putting some firearm training classes together and touring around and doing classes and stuff like that. So there's going to be some stuff that comes out of IKC and out of Uncensored Tactical that you guys haven't seen yet. That's going to be coming out real soon. So
excellent. That's exciting. Man, I'm so happy that he's there, and hopefully we might find a new lifestyle. That's really cool. That makes me happy. We recently actually got a roommate at our farm, and he's an old friend of mine or whatever. But it's been really nice. He's not, never been around like farming stuff, so it's been so cool seeing him take to it and enjoy it so much. And he does construction, so just having somebody around here who's like, can handle something if something goes awry, it's been nice. Me and my wife have actually been able to leave the farm for a 24-hour period or more for the first time in like 5 years, having somebody staying here. And it's so weird when you actually get off the farm, like, oh wow, this is what it's like to not have to, I got to get home and do this and that and take care of the chickens and, be able to relax a little bit, man.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Long.
Those of you who thinks homesteading is sexy, give up on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
we haven't had a proper vacation in 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't trust anybody to come take care of your animals. And then if you do, you're always calling and checking in. You're like, hey, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Everything good?
So praying no big emergency happens,
Yeah. And there is, like I said, there is some times where it's like, hey man, I got a dead chicken. It's like, cool, man. Does anybody else look like they're gonna kick the bucket? Nope. All right, we'll deal with it when I get home.
Throw it in the compost.
But
it's fine.
he has brought so much value to my life, man, and he's helped us out so much and taken so much stress just being here, taking so much stress off of my wife and I that, man, it's I can't even count the ways, everything from keeping me accountable with IKC and my posts and recording and everything that I got going on to answering questions from the kids about homeschool. Like, he's doing it, man. So he's got the family without all the extra bull crap to go along with it, right? Like, he didn't have to find somebody he's miserable with. He didn't have to go through childbirth and dirty diapers and all that. So he's got 2 kids that they're like self-sufficient, like he just has to be, he's got the cool part of life with him, right? So like he's teaching he helps teach my daughter to drive, he's teaching my son to cook, and my son doesn't know it, but he's being trained right now as a canine handler and trainer, and he just thinks it's fun playing with the dogs and Uncle Pat, but he will literally go into graduate high school with the quality of training that Fortress Canine puts in every one of their dogs. So he will literally have a pedigree of training from Joel and from Pat at Fortress Canine, and the method that they use to train their dogs, he'll have that before he even goes into high school. And by the time he graduates, he can be making 6 figures as a dog trainer. And he just thinks it's fun. It's a lifestyle, bro. Like, that's where a lot of people, like, they get into preparedness, they get into homesteading, and it's like a hobby, right? Like, no, bro, this is a lifestyle. If you really want to build it to the level that like me and Dag are talking about, and you really want to take it there, you have to integrate it. You have to make it part of your lifestyle. You have to live it. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk, because that's the people you see. They're like, I'm getting out of blah, blah, blah after a couple of years, like, I'm not prepping anymore because the zombie apocalypse didn't happen. Well, it wasn't going to, bro. Like,
yeah,
like down here in Texas, we prepare for hurricanes, and it just happens that when you prepare for a hurricane, deep preparedness for a hurricane, you're prepared for other stuff.
Yeah, you're prepared for a lot. I mean, cool.
Yeah.
Really, like, what are you prepared for a hurricane? For me, it's basically just a long-term power outage. That's our big thing for a hurricane. So, that prepares you for any number, like when the gas shortage thing happened, a couple months ago or whatever. Dude, I had tons of gas. Like, I really wasn't sweating it that much. Like, okay, if the gas
So
station
I can
for a
tell you
couple days, I'll be fine.
3 places I ain't going when there's a named hurricane, which we got one in the Gulf now, right? It's supposed to make landfall sometime Monday. They don't know where. 3 places I'm not going to be: the bank, the grocery store, and the gas station, because y'all chumps are the ones that are going to be standing there, not me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dude, this has all been great. We're coming up just about on time. Is there anything else that we wanted to cover today?
Man, I don't know. I'm down to chill. I mean, we get on here, man. We did the security thing. It was almost 2 hours last time. So
yeah, that was a good one. Let's see. I don't know.
But we could, I mean, we can save it, dude. We can wrap. If you got any random questions or something like that, we can go a little bit longer, and then we can. I mean, I can always come back and do another episode.
Oh yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. Let's see. Okay, okay, here we go. What are like maybe some plans that you have like for the future of on the farmstead there? Do you have any okay. Here when you said something about like oh it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. It's kind of funny because it kind of made me think it's like what is like basically it's like what ends up being my hobbies are just what's going to be a future like homestead project, like oh
Yep.
this thing is new so like we've got a thing we're still working it out with some friends of ours, but we might start planting a bunch of moringa trees here. I don't know if you're familiar with moringa, but I think you could probably actually grow it where you're at, but anyhow, but it's like yeah, so it sort of starts off we're going to dabble with a little bit, see if it works out, and if it does then we're going to scale up and then it might become like a businessy thing, but yeah, you sort of get into the lifestyle so much that like your hobbies just become more of the same thing that you're doing anyhow. You start it's just for fun, like this lifestyle just becomes an everything. So yeah, man, what do you think you might be doing in the future?
So the next big thing that we have, about 3 years ago, I bought 3 nukes. So I bought 3 beehives. During 2020, I had somebody call me, and we had actually grown our beehives and amassed I think it was like 5 or 7 beehives. And then the end of 2020, we had the freeze, we had a wax moth infestation, and we got taken down to 1 beehive. And that was one of those days, like I went out to check on my bees and they were gone. They were empty. The hives were cold. And I'm like, I called the bee lady that I found, I was like, I called her crying. I'm like, I don't know what I did, like I killed my bees, and she's like, you didn't kill your bees. They just left. No, we had 7. And when I say 7, we had 7 with like 2 deep hive bodies, like bearding out, like,
and they all
we harvested. Yeah. Well, all but 1.
Oh man.
Because we had a serious wax moth infestation. It was failure, bro. It was abject failure. It was soul crushing. And I was on my way to an executive protection detail when I found the hives that morning. My wife's like, hey, you should go check on your bees. So I went out there and they're gone. And I was like, that's thousands of dollars and years of loving and caring down the drain, So I bought some more, and we actually we're up to 10 hives now. I hired a bee mentor and a coach, and I offered him a cut of the profit. So I offered him 25% of what we produce. So we're going to lean heavily, and we're going to try and double, if not triple, the amount of hives we have in the next year and a half. And we're also going to get into queen rearing. And I told him that I would gladly pay him his asking price for one-on-one training. Didn't blink an eye when he threw out a figure. So I was like, whatever, I don't care. Teach me about my bees. These are my babies. So he's like, man, he came out and he's like, you have everything that I want. And I'm like, careful what you ask for. Because, but like he was so enthusiastic about it. My wife was like, hey, let's lean into it. Let's grow it. Let's produce bees, and it's like, all right, cool. Cause the bees are less work than anything else on this farm. No joke, man. Like you give them a couple hours a week just to check on them, make sure everybody's safe and healthy. And then you let bees do what bees do, so she's like, let's get rid of the high maintenance systems and animals and lean into stuff that's more resilient and lower maintenance and stuff. And she's like, he's pretty enthusiastic about the whole deal. Let's incentivize him, and so we incentivized him with a cut of the profit. And then we're like, hey, if we produce 10 hives, we'll give you 2 or 3, and we'll give you room here so that you don't have to have your own space to raise bees. Like we'll give you the room, we'll give you the tools, we'll, whatever. And just, I want your best when you come here. He's like, done. He's like, you don't have to give me a cut of the profit now. He's like, but if I can revisit this negotiation later or revisit this offer later, he's like, once I get my house and I have more time here and, stuff like that, he's like, I'll definitely probably accept your offer in about a year. He's like, but I want to lean heavily into helping you build it until then. So he's like, I'm gonna lean into helping you build it the way I would if I had the 25% cut. And he's like, then we'll revisit. He's like, so you can see what you're investing in. We'll revisit this in 6-8 months to a year. I said, all right, cool, whatever, man. I want you to know that I'm committed. I want you to know that, you know, I'm willing to incentivize the best and get the best out of you. And sky's the limit, man. Let's go. So bees are on the, you know, that's my focus for the near future. We're probably going to expand the garden. Baker Creek has got some really cool plants that they're running through trials right now. I don't know, man. We're going to figure it out. I'd like to dig another pond and put in a shooting range so I can stop paying range fees and start, you know, doing classes here on property. So we got a couple things in the works, but I'm working on trying to finance them right now with that little bomb I dropped earlier on the show.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot of bees, dude. That's awesome. Bees are really just, like when you start raising bees and you learn about them, like it's just such an amazing, like I don't know, dude, nature's just cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I tell people, like, I'm like, man, if you ever doubted the hand of God and intelligent design and anything, study bees. You know, there's no other explanation other than intelligent design. I'm not going to get on a pedestal or whatever. And I mean, I just, you know, like, yeah, I'm a Christian or whatever. I'm not going to preach, but dude, that something that complex. I mean, a bee's role in a beehive changes every 2 to 3 days. And
Yeah, dude,
within a month, you've got all new bees in that beehive.
Yeah, and they do the, you know, they just do their thing, and like they're able to like communicate, and they're like smart, and it's really incredible. You know, I really have
Well, if you don't think they communicate, get stung by a bee while you're working a beehive. That entire hive's like, we can kill him. All right, cool. Let's kill him.
Man, it's just so incredible. My wife got me this book for Christmas, and it's really great. It's not a really new book or anything, but it's called Intelligence in Nature. And he goes over a few different really just amazing like critters or, you know, whatever, and how they just like, okay, like for instance, okay, like, you know, we were talking about algebra 2, right? Now I don't know how to do that shit, but if I like toss you a screwdriver or something and you catch it, like the amount of mathematical computation that went into that is insane. But we didn't have to do it, like our brains just did it, right? So like it's just yeah, it's just so incredible, just everything in nature and how it works and stuff. And like I really have, and not to get too like religious or anything, but like I really have, like in the last few years, really started to go from being okay, like just straight Darwinian evolution, you know, when I was younger, and be like, yeah, man, I don't know, dude, there's something more, and I'm, you know, I'm not saying what it is, but there's something that like there's a back and forth, you know what I mean? I don't think that we necessarily fully understand that as much as a lot of people like to think that we do. You know, it's just really incredible, and whatever's going on, I don't think we're capable of comprehending it. You know, it's just really interesting. But yeah, stuff like bees, or like watching like a mama hen hatch babies on her own and raise it, you know, just things like that is just so beautiful, but it is just so mind-blowing. You know, people think, oh, like I have so many people tell me like, oh, chickens are so dumb. What dumb birds? And I'm like, they're really good at the shit chickens do, you know.
Yeah, like, they're the best at being a chicken.
Yeah, dude, like I mean, let's see you hatch an egg by sitting on it and know which eggs are good and which eggs are bad, and push the bad ones out of the nest, and you know, just all the crazy things that they just know how to do. They didn't read a fucking book, their mama didn't teach them, you know, at least not in a direct sense. Like it's just so, I'm getting goosebumps just sitting here talking about it, dude. It's crazy. But yeah, man, it's just so beautiful. And yeah, something like bees or like ant colonies always amaze me. But anyhow, back to bees, like bees in themselves, like, yeah, when you just learn how they function, it's really mind-blowing, dude. And I'll tell you what, dude, we've got a lot of apiaries around us, and all the dudes who run the beehives who I've met, who are, you know, these older bee dudes, they just remind me of somebody who did like way too much LSD in their life. You know what I mean? Like they're just, you know, they're their own breed, dude. And I've had them tell me like, yeah, man, you really start watching bees and you really start to understand the universe, you know. And it's really incredible. We had a hive and for about a year, and then they absconded. I'm not sure what happened. I honestly think ants might have gotten in there. But it was fun. I really want to do it again. it's tough though, man. You put a lot into it, and like you said, they're just gone, and it's frustrating. And I've actually talked to people who did bees for a couple of years and ended up just giving up because it was just too frustrating because they had so many issues. And then I've talked to people who are super successful too. So I don't know, but we definitely want to get back into them again, man. I mean, they provide so much benefit, and they're just so neat to have. You're looking to do actually commercial scale though, man. That's really awesome. Are you so you're gonna try and sell honey and like queens? You said you're looking into doing the queen rearing.
Yep. So ideally, people tell you, you're like, if you're just going to do queens, do queens. If you're going to do honey, do honey. If you're going to, split and sell bees. And I would like to do a little bit of all three.
That's my style. I can't just
and
pick
then
one.
I also want people to come here and learn, so that's the same thing with everything that we have here. Like, I want people to come here and learn. I'm hell bent, dude. I'm determined to be a seed crystal that my community forms around.
All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acres seeds. Agoristacres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it.
Yeah, it's excellent.
So
we need people to just be comfortable like teaching. You also get that like line though where it's like, if you can't, just like anything, running a charity, if you can't take in enough money, you can't continue to do good shit, right? So it's like you got to find a way to find that balance to like monetize it, yet be helpful, yet not be greedy, yet not be unfair to yourself.
Yep. So like the thing with teaching is that like I can have people come here, they don't have to spend what, $250 is the lowest I've seen a beehive or a nuke. That's not even a beehive, that's a nuke. Right now, you're about $200 for a hive body with frames. Another $100 for $100 or more. These are the cheapest prices that I've seen. So I mean, for what? And bee people will tell you, don't just get one hive, get two or three. So by the time you're 2 or 3 hives, 2 or 3 stands, 2 or 3 bee boxes, a smoker, a suit, you're in for a couple grand. But no, you ain't got to do that. Just come here. I'll loan you a suit. You can go work a beehive with me and me and my mentor, and you don't have to be out the investment to learn that, oh, I really don't like the sensation when a beehive gets upset that I opened it. Because like and that's right. So like that's the biggest thing that I find with people coming here is that when people's nose meets reality, that romantic idea they have is not so romantic anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what people think. Like, I truly like, I'm like, okay, you explain to me what you have in your mind, and I'm going to pop your bubble before you get here. Because, a farm is smelly, a farm is dirty, like people come here and they're like, yeah, well, you have this, awesome homestead. I'm like, yeah, and it's filthy. I got an old car sitting over there I need to work on, like I got a pile of broken tools, like my chicken coop's not the prettiest, like this is a functional farm. It's not pretty. Pretty is not functional. Functional is a lot of times not pretty. It's dirty.
Me feel
it
better
smells,
about my
farm.
Because I have all those things too.
So it's like, hey, but I ain't got to worry about like I've lived in the city, bro. Like I don't have to worry about my car getting broken into in my driveway. I don't have to like I can walk out naked in the front yard with a beer and pee off the porch if I want to. Not that I'd do that, but whatever. We can have a rowdy ass pool party if we want. Hey, nobody's gonna say nothing. Cops don't even patrol out here. The neighborhood kind of takes care of its own security. We self-regulate. So
yeah, I mean, it's
but yeah, man,
it's what I like about a small community is that tends to be the case. Yeah, we don't get many cops out here.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I actually had cops called on me a few months ago, and the reason I bring it up is because what you had mentioned earlier about wandering through the woods and maybe stumbling across something you shouldn't. I have a hound dog, and and about once a month he decides to dig out of the property and I got to go chase him down. And most of the farmers and stuff, ranchers around here know me, know him. They don't mind if I go on their property to fetch him. Well, I rolled through this orange grove one day that I'd never rolled through before, and I didn't realize it was owned by somebody different. And saw a game camera, a trail cam. When I passed by, I was like, oh man, I might hear about this. And anyhow, a couple days later, the sheriff shows up, and he's like, hey man, make sure you get permission, whatever. Totally in the right, like I wasn't trying to trespass, my bad, definitely. But like, what was funny was when I was back there though on that property, I was like, man, if I didn't know any better, like I swear I smell something, I swear I smell something growing back here, and anyhow, then after the cop showed up and everything, I'm like, well, maybe a cop isn't, the best choice in that instance, but they were making sure I didn't come back, and I was like, oh man, maybe that was what was going on back there, that or a still or something, I don't know, but yeah, man, that's otherwise we tend to not have police. I just wanted to just know who it was who owns the property or owns the grove. Be like, man, here's my number. Just call me. If there's an issue for sure. Like I don't want to be, I ain't trying to trespass or anything. I'm just grabbing my dog, but what are you gonna do?
Yep.
But it was cool. The sheriff was pretty reasonable. He was like, he went to step onto my property, and I saw him from a distance and hollered at him and said, hey, I'm coming. You stay right there. And he stepped back and waited for me and everything. And he was respectful and all that. So it was a good interaction. I definitely find out in the country they tend to be a little more reasonable.
Yeah. That's, it's not that, ooh, we're gonna shoot a cop, right? It's that people just have courtesy out here.
Yeah.
Like they're not going a million miles an hour all the time. They're not living on top of each other. They're not exposed to that constant grind that grinds down that that common decency that you get in a small town, so. Well,
yeah, man, it was like, oh man, like people complaining about Trump or whatever, the last several years, things have been so crazy. And it's like, I don't know, man, like I walk out my front door and look around and it's like exactly the same for the last 7 years I've been here,
Yep.
We all get along. It's like, I don't know what you guys would turn off the damn TV, like I just don't see it in my little world where I live, and I mean, for that matter, we just drove up to Wisconsin and back, and we drove through like a dozen states and maybe saw a dozen masks. Like there wasn't, everybody was like normal, and then you hear the hubbub on the news and everything. I'm like, I just don't know, man. I don't see it. But we don't live in a big city, I avoid them, for a reason. So maybe that's where all this craziness really goes on. But yeah, man, I couldn't imagine going back to living in an urban environment or anything after being back out in kind of the country where we are
every day. I work in one every day. You ain't missing nothing.
Yeah.
I get my daily dose of insanity from the city, and I cannot wait to cross that county line, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I get I work on the road. I work about 2 hours away from, and it's always a different place, but about 2 hours away from where I live. And yeah, whenever I can, if I can take back roads instead of the interstate, you know what I mean? It's just a totally different experience, totally different day. If I have to drive through Orlando on I-4, like these people have a death wish, like driving like they do, man. It's crazy, dude. I couldn't imagine living a lifestyle that would make me want to be that reckless with my life just to get home from work.
True.
Yeah. So usually we wrap up the show with a quote, and I was going through some quotes today, and there was a couple of them. I couldn't quite decide on one of them. I want to just mention one here real quick. This isn't the one I want to wrap on, but actually, you know what? I got two quick ones that I just want to talk about with you real quick. These aren't the ones I want to wrap on, but we'll get to that one in a second. Okay. But there's one here, and it's my man Joel Salatin. I'm sure you're familiar with Joel.
Oh yeah.
Frankly, any city person who doesn't think I deserve a white collar salary as a farmer doesn't deserve my special food. And we were talking about people don't really knowing what it takes, to do this and everything. And I've always loved that. I don't remember which book it is that he says that. Probably Folks This Ain't Normal, if I had to guess. But as like people do really, his point on this is that he had somebody come to pick up food and they go, man, for farmers, you folks sure are well spoken, and it's like, man, what a fucking insult, like you expect we have to be like these dumb hicks, to provide this food. And some of those things, when you really learn to do it yourself or have to experience it, it's like it just really makes a lot of sense.
Right. We don't live this way because we don't have any other option. We live this way because we want to.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, you have to be a little bit of everything, dude. You got to be a plumber, you got to be an electrician, you got to be a construction worker, you got to be a fucking vet. You know, you got to
Yeah,
be all
you
sorts of
got to
shit.
be what you have to be what lacks in society today, which is competent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Able to handle things on your own, think on your feet, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So I really love that one. And then this was another one that I was thinking is a possibility that I liked. It says, this is by Will Rogers. Uh, the farmer has to be an optimist or he wouldn't still be a farmer. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, really talk about low time preference, you know?
Yep. Absolutely, man. It's dude. Farming is insanity. It really is. It but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, man. Like, you know, I look at people twice my age and they're amazed at how I have what I have at half their age. And I'm like, it's because I drive over an hour to work. You know, it's because I hustle all the time. So I wouldn't trade this for nothing, man. Like I pull down the driveway and I see the horses in the pasture every morning. Big old stinky majestic beasts, you know. I just
Yeah, I hear you. That's me and the goats. They come home and I see
Yeah.
them like, oh, they're cute. Okay, one more question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
This last, I don't know, 2 years, whatever, COVID, whenever that shit started. You know, a lot of people, it's been kind of like a black pilling experience. And yeah, there's been a lot of nonsense, but for me, it's actually kind of been like a little white pilling in a lot of ways, you know, seeing a lot of people, you know, like we were talking about with the how the media portrays it versus what I see, you know. I think a lot of people have been more wary of government, et cetera, et cetera. What do you feel about that, man? Are you feeling more like, are you feeling more hopeful for the future or less after all this nonsense? That's a tough
Well,
one, I know. Short answer, yes with
I
an
didn't.
if. Long answer,
I,
no with a but, right?
well, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in humanity to begin with,
Sure.
and it has just, man, it has just brought out the worst in people. It's brought out the best in people, you know. But it really has just, man, it's.
I feel like
I'm
it's easier to know who your
I'm
friends are.
ashamed. Yeah, I'm ashamed that, you know, we used to look back and we would see like somebody from, you know, the Eastern Europe or whatever, you know, from like Asia, you know, Asian countries, and they were always wearing the mask, and I'm like, that's so stupid, you know. And now, guys, that mask has become a part of American life, and I just, when did we cross that line, you know? Like, I'm not going to talk about, you know, pro mask, anti mask, you know, whatever. I had it, man. I had it. I was miserable with it. January of this year, right? I was exposed, and bro, I was miserable. I was miserable for 2-3 weeks, and then I didn't regain my sense of taste and smell for a month and a half, 2 months.
Oh wow.
You know, and it just, oh man, I don't think that this whole thing did any favors. I don't think that it did humanity any favors. I think that it conditioned a lot of people to accept things that they otherwise, I mean, had you just come out right and tried to force people to do some of the things that they implemented during COVID without the justification of something that's going to kill you and wipe out half the population, right? Which it didn't, you know. Without that threat, had you tried to lead people by the nose to do any of this stuff, they would have, the country would have been on fire the next morning. But under the auspice of keeping people safe, and, you know, under the auspice of all this other bullshit, it, you know, it hasn't done us any favors, man. It really hasn't. It's further polarized and further divided our country. It's still a means of division. It's
Oh, yeah.
still, you know, a means of, you know, and it's politicized. You know, people are welcome to have their opinion, but don't politicize it. Don't weaponize it, you know, because it's like somebody gets triggered about not wearing a mask, somebody gets triggered about whether or not you got a vaccine, and then it goes to politics and who you voted for and all this. Man, I don't know about anybody else, but have y'all noticed that our country is falling apart? Right? We have more important stuff to worry about than all of this stuff. We had it. you know, the country's falling apart, and last year they were worried about impeaching somebody. You know, come on.
Yeah.
You know, y'all stop listening to the news and stop listening to the talking points and stuff like that and start talking to your neighbors, right? Actually sit down and have a conversation with them, share a beer with them. You know, what happened to backyard barbecues? What happened to block parties? You know, I'm waxing nostalgic about a time I grew up in, but seriously, you know, what happened when neighbors, you know, why don't neighbors call each other anymore? You know, why don't people stand out and water their lawn and, you know, like talk to one another? Like it just, we ain't got time, man. And the way of life that we all wish we had is going to keep going south. It's going to keep falling apart. It's going to keep getting eroded because nobody has time, you know? And that's the one thing that'll fix it. Just giving somebody time, listening to them. Stop trying to debate people, man. Stop trying to convert people to your way of thinking. Stop trying to, like, you know, hey, you join this political camp, man, fuck your politics. You know, why don't you just try talking to your neighbor? Try talking to that person that, you know, that's standing there across from you. You know, y'all have a conversation. You might find out you have more stuff in common. You know, you might find out that both y'all hate the government, you know, like,
Hopefully.
I'm like, I'm not, you know, it's, man, we can do an entire episode just on this stuff, man. But
Oh yeah.
it
Well,
it did do some good things, you know. It did, you know, wake a lot of people up, you know, when that supply chain happened. You know, everybody talks about toilet paper and all this stuff, but no, for real, people learned what it's like to be in bread lines in Venezuela.
Yeah.
You know, they and that woke some people up, brought them around to a preparedness mindset.
I'm hoping that a lot of people realize how spoiled we are when it comes to supply chains. Like when I notice things like, oh, the energy drink I like wasn't in stores for like 2 months, and I'm like, wow, how like how good do I have it? That's like, you know, been a hiccup in my life, you know, and hopefully, you know, people realize that, and I'm hoping I think a lot of people, not as many as should, but a lot of people I think are gonna hopefully get into, maybe stick with a little more of a preparedness, you know, kind of lifestyle because of those supply chain realizations, you know.
I guarantee you there's an exponentially higher number of houses in the United States now with deeper pantries.
Yeah. I mean, just okay, it was so hard to get, you can buy a deep freezer for months, you know. So I really like to look at that and hope that there's some good that comes out of that, you know, for sure. It's, you know, it's the old thing where it's like, you know, like in order for things to get better, a lot of times they got to get worse first, you know. So it's like, I'm not a collapsitarian by any means, because I don't want my nieces and nephews to have to grow up in a war-torn place, right? But it's like, but ultimately something, you know, something is gonna have to happen. I mean, if we are in a dying empire, which I feel like we are, you know, like, but it's like, hopefully,
fourth turning.
Yeah. So if you know, enough of us can be as prepared as possible to, you know, make it as smooth as it can be, you know, I guess it's the best we can hope for. I try and go back, like as a farmer, I try and be an optimist as much as possible. Cautious optimism. I like that phrasing.
Yeah. Well, back to what you said, like, I love, you know, post-apocalyptic novels or post-apocalyptic genre. I love that genre. I've hundreds of the books in my Audible account. Doesn't mean I want to live in one.
Right. There is something, guys, that is,
they're not blueprints
chanting about it, but it's not. Yeah, we don't want to live in that. You know, it's the welcome to the boog memes that are going around. They're so depressing, but it's like, that's it, dude. Like, yeah, be careful what you wish for. You know, you don't want to live in that shit. I don't want to live in the zombie apocalypse as much as, you know, it's fun to fantasize about it. Nobody wants to live in that shit.
Yeah, no, I'm over all of it. And when people try and engage me in the conversation, I'm like, man, I'm not going to have this conversation with you. I'm not going to talk about this with you. I have my beliefs, you have yours, and I've heard you talk to other people and you go from zero to emotional and you don't want to hear anybody else's side of the story except for your own. And I'm not going to, you know, I'm like, that's a private matter. I'm not going to discuss it with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I damn sure ain't going to discuss it in public. You know, so
well, yeah, man, and these days with, you know, almost all the opinions I have are what check off the boxes for domestic terrorist. You know, it's like, yeah, you really got to be careful, you know, who who in public, and especially if you have kids, man, because that just gives an excuse. Oh man, that's a dangerous household. We got to get them kids out of there. So anyhow, yeah, that's I definitely agree with that, and that's definitely, I think, good advice to anybody like right now, like especially like in public, being, hey, whatever your normie friends, oh yeah, hey, whatever. When I'm in public and somebody just talks politics, oh hey, oh I hear you, buddy. Yep, oh yeah, and then I just exit the
You know what?
conversation.
I overlooked a very important thing, and I got to give credit where credit's due. I said it didn't do us any favors. It did do us any favors. It gave credence and it gave a breath. It gave a nitrous shot to homeschooling.
Yes.
And
Yes.
just that, like even for us, homeschooling, bro, you know how long I've been on my path to freedom and liberty, and you know how big of a step it was and how much more freedom and liberty we got when we went over to full-time homeschooling, bro. So yeah, that's one thing that COVID did do, right? That's one thing that COVID, and I'll give credit where credit's due. It revitalized, it reawakened a sleeping giant. There are people leaving after, being distance learning and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, you're using the same program that I can just buy directly and I don't have to deal with none of your crap. Cool. So
Yeah.
it did do that. People took, caring for their kids and their kids' education back in hand. A lot of people did. There are people that flocked back to it as soon as the doors opened. And you know what? Good on them. Whatever, man. But we're not one. This family, like I said, we take a very cautious look and at every every decision, and if it's not right for us, we opt out. So, but COVID did hit a home run with revitalizing the homeschool movement.
Yeah, man, you got to break that indoctrination. I think that's a very important thing, and getting kids out of school, and then with the content that you're looking to do with the Tuttle Twins and stuff, with the I always feel so like dirty, and we got to propagandize the kids, but it's kind of the truth. But yeah, I just think having content like that available is gonna be very helpful for that as well. And then getting them out of those indoctrination camps, man. And I mean, they're just prisons. I mean, I look back, or any TV show or something where the kids in high school and stuff, and it's like, oh, it was awful. I can't believe we all had to go through that. It's just terrible, man, and it's really sad.
So there's a big difference that a lot of people don't realize, right? You talk about propagandizing kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference in writing books with a agorist or a freedom bent to them, right? Freedom-based books. There's a difference between that and propaganda, and the difference is voluntarism. So I'm not gonna force nobody to read my books.
Sure.
If you find them and you share them with your friends, and your friends read them and they enjoy them, you share them with other people, cool. Propaganda, you don't have no choice. That shit gets shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
You don't want to read my books, you want to stay asleep, and you want to stay dependent and sucking hind tit to get what you need, do it. I don't care.
Yeah. It's not your problem after some point. You know what I mean? You only got so much energy. So
nope. You are responsible for you. I'm not responsible for you. I'll put the information out there. I'll talk on a podcast. I'll invite people to come here and learn from me. I'll do whatever I can to help you. You don't want to be helped? It's all you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then otherwise it's I say like lead by like be a successful person, and that's like one of the best things you can do to convince people. Be a successful person. And,
I was actually I was talking with one of my users on one of the guys that's coming. He was actually one of the first signups for the Virginia event, and you know who you are, big man. But I was talking to him today, and I'm like, what is success, right? Is success somebody else's definition of success, or success, is it having a lot of stuff in a large bank account, having, a house and a car and like all this money and, stuff like that? Or is it leaving a legacy? What is success to you?
Yeah.
So
no, it's definitely subjective. Huh? I guess for mine, for the point that I was making there too, my big one is when my more normie friends who, are glued to the news and this and that, or obviously have terror in their eyes about whatever they're afraid of, whatever the 2 minutes of hate is today, and I'm just like, oh, what's happening? Oh, I didn't even know. Nope, sorry, I have my own thing, and I'm and I really, especially when I'm talking to those people, I want them to be like, oh wow, he's not terrified, you know, of this, and he's happy and doing his thing and living his life. You know what I mean? And I guess that's these days. I feel like that's really like the mark of like success is just being relatively content. But you know, content implies stagnation sometimes. So you know, not that, but you know, not being just plumb terrified of everything, being happy and excited about your own future, where so many people are not. You know, so many people are very black pilled. You know, kind of. And I hate the pill thing, but like, I just hate that attitude.
I don't even
that nihilism thing. I can't stand that, man.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, man. When you live this way, you have less fear. I mean, you know, there's still stuff you're afraid of. There's still stuff you cope with, and you know, stuff that gives you anxiety and you have trepidation or whatever. But man, like I said, there's a hurricane coming into the Gulf of Mexico, and I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
whatever, let's do it. You know,
there's only so much you can control, man. That circle of influence, man. That's another big one too. Is like learn to not fret so much about shit you can't control. You know, focus on what you can and prepare for what you can't. And you know, it's about the best
well,
we can hope to do.
we had the episode where I was talking about private security, and we can actually segue that to this conversation we're having right now. A lot of people during COVID worry about losing their job. When I got laid off, I didn't give a shit because I had a backup plan. I had a side hustle. You know, so it's amazing that when you're prepared. And so one of my biggest things that I say all the time is preparedness always in all ways, right? So it's like, it's a lifestyle. It's all aspects of your life. Practice some preparedness in all aspects of your life all the time, you know? And so like I had a backup plan. You know, we struggled. I worked 70 hours a week sometimes, you know, and you know, there were times where I had nothing and I had to tap unemployment, you know, and it's just, bro, I wasn't scared, you know, I wasn't scared the first time it happened. I wasn't scared this past, 10 months that I spent laid off, you know, staring at a mortgage that's almost $2,000 a month. I mean, like people are like, oh, well, you know, must be nice. Yeah. Yeah. My mortgage is almost $2,000 a month, bro. And I'm standing there unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's amazing how much peace of mind and how much you don't worry about shit when you're prepared. So,
You know, you said must be nice there. And that reminds me of Spearco. He says a lot like you really got to change that attitude from must be nice to good for them, you know, and that's kind of along those same lines, you know what I mean? You really get a different outlook on life when you start doing it, you know, doing shit for yourself and making your own future. You know, you really start to look at things like, oh, good, you know, good for them. You know, instead of being jealous, it's like, well, fuck, how can I get the lifestyle that I want? You know, and I mean, look, I don't want an $800,000 house. Like that's not what I want. You know what I mean?
right.
But some people do, and you know, good for them, you know. But like, but yeah, man, you know, it's you know, really, if you see something like that, it should just drive you to be a better self, you know, instead of just fretting about what other people got.
Yeah, I ain't got time or energy to do that must be nice shit.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I'm dirty, I'm sweaty, I'm working, and I got stuff I got to take care of. I ain't got time to sit around. It must be nice.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap here, man. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, how they can get a hold of you, and then we're gonna get out of here. I think dinner's ready.
Cool. So you guys can find me on any podcasting app, including the podcasting app you're listening to this show on. Search for Insurgency Knitting Circle Podcast. We got a black and white logo. It's a fist with a ball of yarn and, you know, a couple knitting needles or whatever. So that's us, Insurgency Knitting Circle Podcast. If you want to read the first advanced manuscript of the books that are coming out, find us on SubscribeStar. So subscribestar.com /IKC pod, or just go to SubscribeStar's website and search for IKC pod. You'll find us there. $2 and $5 a month subscribers get to see that first manuscript. It's up there now for subscribers and show supporters to read. So you can support the show and the work we're doing there and help me get this book out faster and get these books written faster. You can find us on Instagram at IKC Podcast. Let's see what else. If anybody wants to tell me I suck or tell me that I'm doing a good job, info@ikcpodcast.com. That comes right to my cell phone. So I love hearing from people. I like when people, one of my favorite shows is by Aaron Mahnke. It's Lore. And at the beginning, he's like, I love it when people say hi. I do, man. I really do. I love it when people just drop a line and say, hey, I heard the latest episode. Really liked it. You're doing a great job. Just want to say hey. So whatever, man. That's how you can get a hold of me. If you're interested in the Virginia event, we still have a few seats left. Info at ikcpodcast.com. We'd love to see you there. And yeah, that's what I got.
Excellent, dude. Thank you so much for taking the time. We will be sure to have you on again soon. We will go ahead and roll out on a quote. It is going to be another Joel Salatin quote, and I think it fits nicely with our conversation today. And I think this is from Folks This Ain't Normal as well, which is a great book. Food security is not in the supermarket. It's not in the government. It's not in the emergency services division. True food security is the historical normalcy of packing it in during the abundant times, building that in-house larder, and resting easy knowing that our little ones are not dependent on next week's farmer's market or the electronic cashiers at the supermarket. It's Joel Salatin. Agorist Nexus out.